right, bring them out. All right, we are back on the record on Mark D. Jensen, 2002 CF 314.
All right, you guys, and let me know how we sound for the audio.
Jury's back in the courtroom.
I'll make sure everything's okay.
I'll ask the state, Mr. Jamboys, what do you wish to do next?
A little bit of an echo,
Move exhibit 53, 60, 61, 70, 82, 83, 84, and 87 into evidence, Your Honor.
Do you have all that?
All right, there we go. We should be better now. Does it sound okay? Everything doing okay?
I think 61.
In the comments, if you would please let me know.
61 also.
61 and
go?
70.
We had like half the people in here that we should have. So
70.
welcome to the algorithm.
Oh, I'm sorry. 71 was already received. So 60, 61, 70, 82, 83, 84, and 87.
So in the comments, if
Right,
anybody
those
would
will
be
be
so kind as to let me know if you can hear me or not.
53 also received?
Yes.
I would also ask that exhibit 59 be received.
All right, that'll be received at this time also. Okay, so we have all the state's exhibits that they wish to move in, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
So what does the state wish to do next?
At this point, Your Honor, the state rests.
All right, the state is resting, folks. Their direct portion has been completed. With that, the defense, do you wish to call a witness, Ms. Krause?
Yes, Judge, we'd call Jolene Bly.
All right,
And Judge, when we take a break, we will have a motion outside the presence of the jury.
Does it sound okay
your
though?
motion's
Let me know if it sounds
preserved.
okay.
I
Well, it's
know you
official,
called the
you
witness,
guys.
but I will
The
preserve your
prosecution has rested, and you're welcome, Destiny. Prosecution is rested, and we are moving into the defense's case now. So this is the first witness for the defense. So if you guys would share the stream out, I'd really appreciate it. I know we're so let me take that out there. I just realized it says the wrong thing here. It is now officially the defense's case. So, and then there's that guy, whoever he is. Yeah, I'm curious who they're going to call for their witnesses, and this will be interesting.
Okay, can you remain standing? Raise your right hand. You solemnly swear the testimony of this man to be the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God. Have a seat. Get as close as you can to the microphone. Spell your first and last name, okay?
My first name is Jolynn, Jollynn. Last name is Bly, Blei.
Thank you. Go ahead, Ms. Krause.
Ms. Bly, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what you were doing in 2007 as it relates to employment. Okay. Can you tell us where you were working?
I was working at the law firm of Glenn Fitzgerald in Albee.
And how long had you been working for Glenn Fitzgerald in Albee?
Just about 4-ish years, 4.5.
In 2007?
Yeah, I started in 2003.
And do you still work for that firm?
I do not.
When did your employment change?
It changed a couple of times. It changed in 2011 when the firm
Disbanded?
yeah, and I was with Fitzgerald Law Firm until 2018, and then 2018 I started with Federal Defender Services of Wisconsin.
In 2007, what were your job duties?
I was a legal assistant.
And in 2007, did you know Mark Jensen?
I did.
And do you see him in court today?
I do.
And can you just identify what he's wearing?
He's wearing a dark colored suit, dark colored tie.
All right, the witness has identified Mr. Jensen in open court. Continue.
How did you know Mr. Jensen at that time?
He was a client in our office.
And did you work with his attorney and Mr. Jensen while he was a client?
I did.
And do you know the attorney that was representing him at that time?
I do.
And who was that?
Craig Albee.
And you worked with Mr. Albee?
I did.
What type of information or what were your job duties as it related to the Mark Jensen case?
Reviewing discovery, going through the case, organizing the case, working with Craig, doing any duties that he needed done, drafting correspondence, mailing things.
I want to talk to you a little bit about the mailing thing and drafting correspondence, okay? I'm going to show you what has been marked as Exhibit 94. Do you recognize that document?
I do.
And what is it?
It's a letter that I would have typed to Mark Jensen.
How do you know you would have typed it?
My initials are at the bottom, CWA-JMB.
And that just means that you're the one that typed it for Craig Albee?
Correct.
And is it on specific letterhead?
It is. It's on the Glenn Fitzgerald and Albee letterhead that we used.
Is it signed by an attorney?
Signed by Craig Albee.
And what was the purpose of this letter?
The purpose of this letter was to send Mark some materials from his case.
And does the letter identify what materials are being sent?
It does.
I'm going to refer you to item number 1 on that letter. And what does that say?
Testimony of Ed Klug.
Now, just to be clear, can you tell this jury when you wrote that letter?
It was typed on August 10th, 2007.
So based upon your knowledge of the case and all the help you had been doing, this was after the first hearing in the Jensen matter.
Yes.
It would have been after Ed Klug testified. It said his transcript, correct?
Yes.
I'm going to show you what's been previously marked as exhibit number 70. Do you recognize that as Ed Klug's transcript?
I do.
And does the date correspond with the letter that you sent?
There's no cover sheet.
Let me show you one.
Sorry.
It's Defense Mark 95.
Yes.
Does it have a date of Ed Klug's transcript or the testimony?
It does.
And what date is that?
Monday, July 30th, 2007.
And is that the transcript that was included on August 10th?
Yes, it is.
And that was enclosed with the letter?
Yes.
And item number 2, what is that?
Interview of Mark Jensen on April 21st, 1999.
Okay, I'm going to show you what's been marked as Exhibit 53. Can you tell me what I just handed to you, Exhibit 53 is?
It's a transcript of an interview of Mark Jensen that was conducted on April 21st, 1999.
So does the transcript that I handed you, Exhibit 53, correspond to the letter that you sent Mr. Jensen?
Yes.
And that would have been the document that you included in with that letter?
Yes.
And does it say on Exhibit 53, as related to Mark Jensen's interview, who that included?
Yes, it included Sergeant Paul Ratzberg and Detective Heather Berg.
Thank you. Now, item number 3 on the letter, can you tell us what that is?
Exhibits introduced at the forfeiture hearing during the testimony of Rhonda Mitchell.
And so exhibits that were during that hearing.
Yes.
And do you remember what type of exhibit that was?
I don't specifically recall. I thought there was maybe a PowerPoint presentation. I don't recall exactly what was all included.
So it was some type of exhibit. It could have been a PowerPoint presentation.
Yes.
And then item number 4, can you tell us what that was?
Other computer information previously received.
And do you remember what that was?
Not, I don't remember.
Now, prior to July of 2007, Mr. Jensen would come into the office.
Correct.
And would he get the materials from his case when he came in?
Yes.
Is it generally when like police reports would be given to him or witness statements would be given to him?
Yes.
And after July of 2007, Mr. Jensen was no longer out of custody.
Correct.
So if Attorney Elby wanted to send or wanted Mr. Jensen to have materials, how would Mr. Jensen get them?
We would mail them to the jail.
Remember what jail you sent them to?
Kenosha County.
And do you remember sending packages frequently or was it pretty infrequent?
Pretty frequently after he was taken into custody.
Now, as a legal assistant, did you request records or jail records?
Yes.
And do you remember making a request of the Kenosha County Jail in the Mark Jensen case?
Yes.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as Exhibit 91. Is Exhibit 91 one of those requests?
Yes.
And is the request for like prisoner transaction list as it related to Mark Jensen?
Yes.
And that would have been from July 30th to September 24th. Is that correct?
Yes.
And then there was also a request for cell transactions or where somebody was located, both for Mr. Jensen and Mr. David Thompson.
Correct.
And did you also request a roster list of who was in the Kenosha jail on specific dates?
Yes.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as Exhibit 92.
So yeah, this should all be very interesting as to how they plan on positioning their defense to keep him looking any less guilty than he already does. Than any
I'd like to refer
less
you
guilty.
to
That's
Exhibit
going to be a
92 I just handed
tough
you.
rope to
Yes.
toe, 'cause he looks
That's a
so
list of
guilty.
items or things that were sent to Mark Jensen.
Mostly because he's guilty.
Yes.
So,
And does it say the dates at the top as to when those items would have been received?
It does.
And can you tell us what dates those are?
July 30th, 2007 through September 24th of 2007.
And if you look at an entry on August 11th of 2007, does it say what the jail received?
2 LRG large envelopes from Attorney Glenn Fitzgerald.
Is that consistent with the letter that you sent out on August 10th of 2007?
Yes.
And do you remember if it was more than one envelope?
With what's here and with as much as we had on the letter, yeah, I do believe it would have been 2 large envelopes.
And when you look at that exhibit, there are other entries about materials received from the law firm.
Yes.
And that's from that July 30th to just September 24th, 2007.
Correct.
It doesn't have anything after September 24th, 2007.
It does not.
Was Mr. Jensen still in custody after September 24th, 2007?
Yes.
Would you continue to send him items as requested?
Yes.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as Exhibit 93. It's a 2-page document. These are certified records from the Kenosha County Jail. The first page of that document, can you tell me who that discusses?
Mark Jensen.
And does it say where Mark Jensen was housed during his time at the Kenosha County Jail?
Yes.
And does it say where Mr. Jensen was from August 14th to August 17th?
That's not a date on here, but I believe that he was in the same area during that time.
And does it say what area that is?
Cell block J, number 2.
And then if you turn to the second page, it talks about the cell transactions for Mr. David Thompson.
Correct.
And does it say when Mr. Thompson arrived in that same cell block J?
Yes.
And what day is that?
September 6th, 2007.
And does it say when he leaves cell block J?
It looks like he leaves on September 9th, 2007.
And then does he go back?
He does on September 10th, 2007.
It appears that at one point he's kind of out of the jail or
Yes.
out of the cell block.
Yes.
And I think that's September 10th.
Yes.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as Exhibit 96.
Why are you typing
It's a certified record from the Kenosha County Sheriff's Department.
or watching? I don't know what your thoughts are on that, Kay. But I think Cindy's got it figured out. You know? Nah, right there. Oh, yes. It's all good. I'm just having to sort out AV stuff is always a
Ms.
pain
Blyant,
in
I'm
the
going
butt.
to ask you to go to the August 14th, 2007 cell block J.
Yes.
And
Shelley,
can you
you're much
tell
better
us
person.
who was in cell block J with Mr. Jensen?
Joshua Jerkowski, Mark Jensen, Miguel Mendoza, Michael Smith, Christopher Watkins, Bernard Bush, Jason Whitner, Michael Hale, and Michael Ruiz.
You don't see an Aaron Dillard in the cell block on August 14th. Do you see an Aaron Dillard there on August 14th?
I do not.
And of the individuals outside of Mr. Jensen, how many of those individuals were white men?
Four.
I'm going to ask you to go to August 15th of 2007 cell block J.
Okay.
And how many individuals are listed on that day?
10, including Mark Jensen.
And do you see an Aaron Dillard on that day?
I do.
And outside of Aaron Dillard and Mark Jensen, how many other individuals are white males?
4.
I'm going to ask you to go August 16th. Cell block J. Do you also see Aaron Dillard in cell block J on that day?
I do.
And how many other white males are in cell block J on that day, besides Mr. Dillard and Mr. Jensen?
3.
So a total of 5 with those two. And then I'm going to ask you to go to August 17th of 2007.
Okay.
And do you see a Mr. Dillard in cell block J on that day?
No.
And how many other white males are in there on that day?
Including Mark Jensen?
Not including Mark Jensen, thank you.
5.
5. Including him, it would be 6.
Correct.
And as you looked at those records, you didn't see David Thompson at that point in cell block J.
No.
I'm going to ask you to skip ahead to September 6th of 2007. Do you see David Thompson in cell block J at that point?
I do.
Is Mr. Jensen still in cell block J?
Yes.
And then I'm going to ask you to go to September 10th.
Big shout out to Kay Mankey, whatever your name is. Really appreciate you being here with us. We enjoy your presence, your comments, your concern,
Do you see
and your
David
complete lack of
Thompson
knowledge
in
about
that
how
cell
streams
block on
work.
September 10th?
Because
No.
watching CJTV, so all this
And then I think
face
we
and
had
voice you hear
testified
while
from the
she's
previous
talking
exhibit
over here,
that he was there on the 11th.
it's
What
because
about
I'm
September
CJ
12th?
and it's CJTV. So the little caveat that I got to key you in on with that one is I can do whatever I want. So get hip with it or get lost. Sorry, but
On September
some
12th,
guy.
he is not listed.
Figure it out.
Now, as Mr. Elby's assistant, you had an opportunity to review a lot of materials in this particular case.
I did.
Sorry,
And
guys.
when Mr.
When people say
Jensen was
some
in
things and just
custody, he
come
wanted
on.
to receive those materials.
Yes.
And you made sure that he
Hey,
was
Taryn,
provided
what's
with
up?
whatever transcripts, whatever scientific studies, whatever doctor's reports, or whatever witness statements were provided to Attorney Elby.
Correct.
It was your job to kind of copy those and then get those off to Mr. Jensen.
Correct.
He needs to apologize to Nickelodeon for naming it Mr. Ed as well.
I have nothing further.
Who's going to do the cross?
I am.
Go ahead, Ms. McNeil.
So the exhibit that you've just been testifying off of in front of you, what number is that?
96.
Taryn. Oh, Whitwit is killing me. Yeah, Kay, we don't want you to leave. If you're still here, stick around. You don't have to go anywhere. Sorry, I didn't mean to jump on you, but some people got it confused as to how this works out. The reason I'm talking is because I'm here, and it's my show, and I definitely I have some interactive viewpoints on this based off the information that I have that you don't, the extensive research that I've done that you haven't, also the the time that I've spent.
And so these are
right here in
the jail
community.
records that you
happening.
asked for certified copies of, is that correct?
Correct.
Showing where inmates would be located at various times in the jail.
Correct.
Now, in terms of how the jail works, an inmate might be moved during the course of a day, correct?
I'm sure it's possible.
Obviously, inmates are moved within the jail.
And yeah,
And so
because I can.
where an inmate is in a record depends on when that record is during the course of a day, correct?
I would assume so.
For instance, if the record is created to reflect where inmates are at like 8 a.m. in a certain cell block, then that record wouldn't reflect any changes occurring after 8 a.m.
If that's when it was printed, sure. Yes.
Why all the questions about the color? If they were white males or black males? Well, thank you, Sam.
So I'm going to direct your attention to, this would be, let's see, page, this is a big document, so I'm going to try to go by page number. So I'm showing you page 6 of that document, although, again, it's a big document. So I think actually printed on the page in the upper right-hand corner would be page 4.
Correct.
But if we're looking at the pile of paperwork, it's page 6.
Okay.
And so then do you see at the top there, the top left hand where it says run 14-August-2007?
Yes.
And then it says 620.
Yes.
So it appears that when we're looking at that particular date, it's reflecting what the situation was at 6:20 in the morning.
It doesn't say morning or afternoon.
If I show you a different page, and I'm just going to go to, and again, this is in the big pile, so I can't really give you a page number, but I'll ask you what this page shows. You see there that that reflects in the top left-hand corner, 17 August 2007,
Yes.
correct? And then what cell blocks are shown on that page?
Well, the first couple are cut off. The last one I can read is J. Oh, I'm sorry, HINJ. And I'm assuming there's nothing listed above that.
And then if you look again in the upper left-hand corner, the time there is 22:04.
Correct.
So while the other time, the 6:20, it didn't say morning, it appears that military time is being used.
On this document, it does, yes.
And this is from the same pile of documents, correct?
It is.
Okay, so then 6:20 would be morning, and then 22:04 would be evening.
It does not say that for sure.
Okay, but is that your understanding of these records?
I would have to get clarification from the sheriff's department to make sure that the 6:20 was AM. It's not 0620, like the 22:04.
But you agree that on the page that I'm showing you, it's reflecting military time at the
It
time.
is.
And is there any reason for you to think that military time would not be used through the course of all of these documents?
I don't have a reason to believe that, but I do not know for sure.
Okay.
Out immediately to Los Angeles. I need some authentic Wisconsin cheese curds as a request from somebody. So if you got any ideas, guys, let me know.
So you agree that Aaron Dillard was housed with Mark Jensen, according to these records, at least as of August 15th, 2007?
I believe that's what it was.
Do you need to see that page again?
Please. Yes, August 15th.
From Wisconsin, John. I don't think that's going to work for me, but I'm in Los Angeles at the moment. I flew in early this morning, well, late last night, whatever. Yeah, I should have grabbed some, but I might have to have Sarah send me some.
And then also on
This
August
guy.
16th of 2007, Aaron Dillard was housed with Mark Jensen,
I believe that's so, yes.
correct? Okay. And then I think it was your testimony that according to the record on August 17th of 2007, Aaron Dillard was no longer listed as with Mark Jensen in J Block.
Yes.
I'm just going to show you that page. Do you see that?
I do.
Okay. And then just take a look at that.
Yes, 20, yeah. She was showing me the 22:04 time.
So then just to ask you a question off that, that page from August 17th of 2007 appears to reflect a time of 22:04.
Correct.
And so in military time, that's 10:04 p.m.
Correct.
And then in these records that you were shown, it did show that Mark Jensen and David Thompson were together on September 11th of 2007. Is that correct?
I believe that was one of the dates, yes.
So just to be clear about these records and the times I was showing you at the top, is there any reason for you to doubt that that is in military time?
I don't have I can't say that for sure.
And you worked at a law office for years, correct?
Correct.
And then police reports are almost always in military time, correct?
Most of them.
So you would certainly be familiar with that through your work at the law office.
Correct.
And again, the time changes to reflect military time at the top of some of these records, correct?
The time changes to reflect military time?
So the record I showed you showed a time of 2204.
Correct.
And so the other time being about 6:20, I think it said at the top, you have no reason to believe that at one point the record is not in military time, and then within a day or two it is in military time.
No.
All right. Yeah, thank you.
Redirect.
Just quickly, Ms. Bly, when you requested those records, you just requested the records of the individuals in those locations between those dates.
Correct.
And that's what the jail certified and sent to you.
Correct.
And the information that you provided is from those documents.
Correct.
Do you have any knowledge about how the jail works
I
as it
do not.
relates to when they do their count
I do not.
or when they put the information from the count into the computer
I do not.
or when they update the transfers?
I do not.
Thank you.
Anything on that, Ms. McNeil?
No, Your Honor.
All right, you're excused. Thank you.
Exhibit 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, and 96.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
All right, they're all received.
The defense is going to call Lori Brinker.
What number is it? Thank you. You can remain standing when you come up here. Raise your right hand. You solemnly swear the testimony in this matter to be the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. You want to get as close as you can to the microphone. Spell your first and last name for the reporter.
Lori, Lori, Ranker, Ranker.
Thank you.
Ms. Rinker, did you previously go by Lori Brown?
Yes, ma'am.
Is there something that changed in your life which changed your last name?
I was married.
And can you tell the jury what you do for a living?
I'm a director of human resources for a nonprofit.
And prior to being a director of resources for a nonprofit, what did you do?
I worked at a law firm.
And what kind of work did you do for the law firm?
I was their law firm administrator.
Are you a lawyer by trade?
I am.
Did you go to law school?
I did.
And what year did you graduate law school?
1990.
Do you know a person by the name of Aaron Dillard?
Yes, ma'am.
And how did you first meet Mr. Dillard?
In 2006, I needed work done on my roof, and I contracted with Mr. Dillard to do repairs, roof repairs.
Prior to contracting with Mr. Dillard to do roof repairs, had you met him previous to that?
He was an acquaintance.
Do you remember if you met him on some type of personal site?
I don't recall.
That's fair. And did he, is that on? When he introduced himself to you, was it as Aaron Dillard?
It was.
And you said you contracted with him to do some type of construction work?
Yes, I had a portion of my roof where the decking was, it looked like it was rotting and the shingles were coming off. And I showed it to him and he said, I could fix that. I recommend that you have an entire roof replacement. I've got a crew of guys that are my team and this is what we do. And I could fix that. He was very personable, very knowledgeable, and instilled a lot of confidence in me that he could effectuate the repairs.
Did you contract with him to repair your roof?
I did.
Did you also have a personal relationship with Mr. Dillard?
He was a friend.
And during the time that you contracted with him to do your roof and during the time that you had this friendship, do you have opinion as to the truthfulness and honesty of Aaron Dillard?
I do.
And what is that opinion?
I feel that he was not truthful or honest with me with regards to this project. I ended up being defrauded of.
I'm objecting to this, Judge. You can offer the opinion that is appropriate, but going further than that is not.
Why don't you rephrase the question?
I asked as to what your opinion was as to his truthfulness and honesty.
I did not feel like he was truthful or honest. No.
And was that based upon both the personal and business relationship with Mr. Dillard?
It was based on the business relationship with Mr. Dillard, yes.
Thank you, ma'am. I have nothing further.
We have any questions from the state?
No, I don't. Thank
All
you.
right, You're excused. Thank you.
At this point, we are going to play a video. It is 3 minutes.
Is it a witness on the list?
It
or-
is Deborah Teagle Spears, and I don't know the number.
Ms. Teagle Spears will be number 27.
Thank you.
That seemed a bit loud.
Is the jury still here?
All right.
No, let's just hit play and then we'll see how loud it is.
Spell your last name for the court.
That's better? Or just a little bit further down? I don't know why it's so loud on my computer. Okay.
Could you please state your name and spell your last name for the court?
Deborah Teagle, Tegel.
And Ms. Teagle, did you formerly go by the name of Deborah Spears?
Yes, it was my prior name, married name.
You recently married and took the name Teagle.
Yes.
Ms. Teagle, do you know a person named Aaron Dillard?
Yes, I had a brief relationship with him.
Now, how did you meet Mr. Dillard?
I met him out one evening.
And did he introduce himself to you?
He introduced himself as Kyle Resnick to me when we first met.
He told you that his name was Kyle Resnick?
Yes.
Is the person you know, are you able to see this, Ms. Teagle? Is the person you know as Aaron Dillard depicted on here?
Yes.
And where is Mr. Dillard?
The first man on the left top.
Right here?
Yes.
And how did you come to know that the person you understood to be Kyle Resnick was Aaron Dillard?
I started borrowing money to Kyle, Aaron, and it just didn't pan out, and I wasn't believing what he was saying. So I went into his wallet one day because things just didn't seem right, and I got his real name, and I found out his name was Aaron Dillard and got his address and ran a check on him and found out he wasn't such a good person.
So how long did you know Mr. Dillard as Kyle Resnick before you realized his proper name?
About 2 weeks.
And then did you know Mr. Dillard for a while after that period of time?
I tried to stay, once I figured out his name, I tried to stay friendly with him in hopes to return some of my money, recoup some of my money back.
Now, based on your contacts with Mr. Dillard, Ms. Teagle, did you form an opinion as to Mr. Dillard's character for truthfulness?
He has no character, in my words. He's not a very truthful, honest person. He's a con man. He uses people and for what he can get out of them, and that I don't have anything very nice to say about Kyle or Aaron.
Thank you, Ms. Teagle.
No further questions, Your Honor.
And then, Judge, we have one more video to show. and
What
that-
number is the witness?
Frank Quintana.
Thank you.
Same exhibit, item number 3.
And spell your name for.
Oh, sorry. I just wanted to check the volume. I think this is about 11 minutes.
And spell your name for the court, sir.
Frank Quintana, Quintana.
And you're currently in you're in the Walworth County Jail to appear in this court, but you're currently in the Kenosha County Jail, is that right?
Yes,
At some point, did you meet Mark Jensen?
yeah, in September.
And was that in the Kenosha County Jail?
Yes, it was.
Do you know what dates you were in the Kenosha County Jail in September?
It was September 7th to the 10th.
And do you recall what cell block you were in at that time?
In the J block.
You were in the J block.
Yes,
And did you have occasion to have conversation with Mr. Jensen during the time you were there between September 7th and September 10th?
Yeah, I think I asked if I use his paper, Kenosha paper.
Just to read the newspaper?
Yeah.
Did you have any more substantial conversation than that you recall?
Not really.
Did you have a chance to observe Mr. Jensen in the cell block during the period of time you were there between September 7th and September 10th?
Yes.
And what did you observe, sir?
A couple guys taking advantage of him.
And when you say you saw a couple of guys taking advantage of Mr. Jensen, could you explain that for me?
Well, there was one guy, I was in cell 3, and then there was 2 guys in cell 4. And the bigger guy, I believe was Thompson, kept pretty much bullying Jensen, asking him to make a bunch of calls for him, 3-way phone calls. And then like Saturday, we have little totes in your room to put your belongings. He threw his in Jensen's room and told him to fill it up with canteen or he's gonna put some blood in his mouth. And he'd be drinking out of a straw or eating out of a straw.
Now, this was Mr. Thompson said this to
Yeah,
Mr. Jensen?
Yep.
And well, tell me that last part about the canteen.
Yeah.
What do you mean by canteen?
Saturdays you can order, well, you order on Wednesday, you get canteen on Saturdays. And Thompson kept telling Jensen he had 2 minutes to give him his commissary or he's gonna put blood in his mouth and he'll be eating out of a straw.
And that's something that you personally heard?
Yeah, I was there.
And do you know how many days after you arrived that you heard this threat?
That was next day. I got there Friday night and Saturday. Canteen came.
So you think around September 8th?
Yeah.
Okay. And is Mr. Thompson depicted on Defendant's Exhibit number 5?
It was top right hand corner.
Is this Mr. Thompson? And did you see Mr. Thompson engaging in intimidation of Mr. Jensen?
From what I seen, yeah, Jensen was scared of him. Kept telling him, thought he was kidding when he asked about his canteen. Jensen went up to Thompson a couple of times and said, "You're not serious, are you?" And he said, "Effing yeah, I am. If you don't do it now, you're gonna get blood in your mouth and some eating out of a straw or something like that." When Thompson threw his little storage container in Jensen's room, and Jensen filled it up and gave it to him.
And what kind of stuff did he fill up the bin with?
From what I see, it was just like chips and candy and stuff like that. And Thompson passed it around to some of his guys in there.
Did Mr. Jensen make any effort to fight back or do anything?
No, he looked scared to me.
And with regard to the phone calls, did it appear that Mr. Jensen was doing that willingly or at the insistence of Mr. Thompson?
Well, I noticed a couple times Thompson was getting mad that Jensen couldn't get through to make them 3-way calls from him. And he kept trying and trying.
And was he engaging in any intimidating tactics?
Well, he kept yelling at him from what I've seen. I mean, the blocks are real small. You have one little table where everybody sits at, so pretty much see what's going on.
Did you make any effort to intervene and assist Mr. Jensen while you were there?
No, I didn't want to catch a case. I didn't want to catch any more trouble. I told the guard when I left Monday that I believe they should get Jensen out of here because he was taking advantage of him.
Now, on Monday, where did you go on Monday?
I went back to STF, Sturtevant and Transitional Facility.
And that's a different prison?
Yeah, probation and parole.
And, okay, so you went to a probation and parole hold facility. And when you were taken out, you had some conversation with the guards?
Yeah, I don't remember what guard it was, but I told him I felt that he should get Jensen out of there because taking advantage of him. A couple guys were pretty much, Thompson was the leader of them.
Now, had you become friends with Mr. Jensen?
No, I maybe asked him if I could, I believe I asked if I used the classifieds out of the Kenosha paper, if I could read it. That's about all I talked to him in September.
And why is it that you felt you should say something?
I don't know, because I thought it was BS to get taken advantage, because there's a lot of that going on in jail. If you can't defend yourself, they're gonna take your belongings. That's how it is in there.
Did you see anybody else giving Mr. Jensen a hard time?
I think Sally was kind of egging Thompson on too about going to get some commissary.
Mr. Quintana, well, it appears because you come to us from the jail, you've been convicted of a crime before. Is that right?
Yes,
And how many times?
probably maybe nine times, maybe more. I don't know for sure.
Okay. And now, did you ever see Mr. Jensen again after September?
I came back to jail in December. We're in I block together.
Did Mr. Jensen remember you?
No, I had came up to him again asking for the paper because he had the Kenosha newspaper. And I told him that I remembered him back in September when they were taking advantage of him back then. And we talked a little bit, and he asked me if I'd come testify what I seen in September, and I said, that's fine. And nothing to lie about it. And I told him exactly what happened.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Quintana. The prosecution may have some questions for you.
Mr. Quintana, did you overhear any specific conversations between Mark Jensen and David Thompson about a problem witness for Mark Jensen?
Oh, what? I didn't.
A problem witness for Mark Jensen?
No, what I observed was about the phone calls and Thompson putting his empty tote in there to get Jensen's canteen.
Where was your cell in relation to Mark Jensen's cell?
I was the third cell right next to Thompson's, and Jensen's was the last cell, number 6.
Now, did you ever see Mark Jensen and David Thompson either standing or sitting against the back wall and talking among themselves?
I seen him when he gave him his commissary, and I think Thompson came back and tried to get him, I believe he gave him a couple of the bags of chips back or something. I don't know why, but.
So, and listen to the question carefully, please. Did you see David Thompson and Mark Jensen either sitting or standing against the back wall and talking among themselves?
No, I never seen it.
You never saw that happen?
No, I seen them talking by the telephones and by the TV.
So you did see them talking to each other, but it wasn't by the back wall?
Yeah,
It was by the television set?
yeah, because Jensen kept asking him if he was serious about 2 minutes to give his canteen to him or not.
But, okay, that was one conversation.
Yeah.
Were there any other conversations that you saw or heard that occurred between David Thompson and Mark Jensen?
Maybe by the phones when he was having Jensen make 3-way calls from it. That's about it.
Now, that conversation that occurred between David Thompson and Mark Jensen about the give me your commissary thing, did that occur earlier on, or was that later in the time that they were staying there?
It was sometime Saturday, I don't know exactly.
Sometime on Saturday?
Yeah,
And you had been in that cell block since Friday?
I think Friday night I got there.
So it was Friday night that you got there, so it was Saturday sometime during the day. It was the
Yeah.
first full day that you were there,
Yeah.
that you saw this conversation. Now, you were there then Sunday and Monday also, correct?
I left Monday morning.
Oh, so you left Monday morning. So you were only there one day after that, and that was Sunday. Now, did you see any conversation that occurred between Mark Jensen and David Thompson on Sunday?
Maybe around the phones. I mean, I stayed in my room, which my room was right across from the phone, so that,
Did you hear what they were talking about on
no,
that
I
Sunday?
didn't.
But you did see them talking around the phone.
Yeah, I think it was for 3-way calls because Mark had told him, I heard Mark telling him that he tried to get a hold of whoever and he couldn't get through or something.
Did you ever hear David Thompson and Mark Jensen talking about a witness that was a problem for Mark Jensen?
No, I never heard that.
Did you ever hear the name Ed Clue while you were in that cell block with Mark Jensen?
No.
Did Mark Jensen ever talk to you about his case while you were in that cell block with Mark Jensen?
No.
Did you ever hear Mark Jensen talking to anybody else about his case while you were in that cell block with Mark Jensen?
No, not really. No.
Did you see Mark Jensen reading stuff about his case while he was in this cell block?
I might have seen him going through his papers when I went his cell was back by the windows. When maybe I walked by the windows, he might have been going through his court case.
Well, so you did see him doing
I've
that?
seen in his cell, I believe I seen him a couple of times reading his court case.
Did you ever see him talking to anybody else when he was going through his paperwork?
Not that I seen, no.
Did you ever see him show his paperwork to anybody else while you were in that cell?
Not while I was there, no.
Thank you. Any further questions?
Nothing further.
He needs to tell us that.
And spell your name.
Judge, we would need a break at this point. We don't have an additional witness here. We have a longer video, but it would take up more.
Wait a minute.
Are you moving in 104?
I'm going to, yes, Judge.
All right.
There's 2 more videos. There's 1 more video on that exhibit,
Oh, I'm sorry then.
but it's a longer video, so I don't think.
We have a legal issue that we still have to discuss, so we're going to do that now. So then we don't delay you at 8:30 in the morning.
So we're releasing the jury?
They are released. Please don't talk about the case. Come back at 8:30. They can be released.
All right. So yeah, they do this at the end of the day. They're going to do some housekeeping, apparently. Well, or the judge is going to take a walk. What are the judges actually up to right now? I don't know. But anybody that's watching right now, if you would just go ahead and jam a heart or a thumbs up, thumbs down, some type of emoji. I'm just curious if these things are actually working right now. So if you guys would, if you're watching right now,
The
give me a
jury
thumbs up.
is outside of the courtroom. We, I believe, have a motion by the defense
there we
that
go.
was made before the
There
testimony
we go,
started for the
guys.
defense. So
Appreciate
you
that.
can
Thank
make your motion, Ms. Krause.
Judge, at the,
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Perry.
fine. She's the one who said there's a motion.
I swear to God, she said the
when
motion.
we wrap
so-
up this little thing,
You're
I'm
right.
gonna tell you something.
Are you gonna
I don't
make the
have it
motion?
in my
I am.
inbox
All
yet,
right.
but when I do,
This is at the
I had access
conclusion
to
of the
some
state's case. The defense
evidence
moves to
that they haven't talked
dismiss
about yet. that while I was in the
insufficient
courtroom
evidence,
yesterday.
insufficient credible evidence pointing towards establishing that Mark Jensen committed first-degree intentional homicide.
All right. I am going to quote as to what the motion is. It's a motion to dismiss at close of the state's case. It says, motion must be denied if considering the state's evidence in the most favorable light, the evidence adduced, believed,
was
or
me
rationally
yesterday.
considered
I went in there, my
is
phone
sufficient to prove
speaker was
guilt
still
beyond a
working
reasonable
on my
doubt. So
Bluetooth.
I have to give the
And
state
all the attorneys were like,
the
"What?"
most favorable light here. And I do have, for the record, 3
Please share the stream too, guys. Notifications are
notepads
just
already
not working
full.
right now
We
in the
had
world of
38
social
witnesses for
media.
the state.
So, well, not for me right now. So,
And
sharing it would help a lot.
we will start out with the first witness in this case was Ruth Vorval, V-O-R-V-A-L-D.
Vorwald, Your Honor, Vorwald.
Thank you. She knew Julie Jensen. She indicated on December 3rd, 1998, she was driving north. She saw Mark Jensen on that day on Lakeshore Drive. Mark waved. It was in the middle of the morning, and she thought it was kind of unusual because Mark worked in Racine. We had Sharon Krause. She testified. She saw Mark on December 3rd, 1998. indicated that Mark said to her that Julie was gone, showed no emotions. We then had Teresa DeFazio, who testified under oath. She indicated, Julie said, I cannot use the computer. She would show up every Wednesday to help at the school. There was a statement that Julie made that my husband is going to kill me. She also indicated she told Ms. DeFazio she found a list of drugs, issues of overdose. She also indicated that her husband, Mark, was on the computer off and on, looking up areas. She also indicated, she said that Mark would make it look like a suicide. Carrie Ashley indicated she called Julie December 2nd, 1998. Mark Jensen answered. Mark said Julie was sick in bed. She also indicated she saw Julie's items in the garbage. She also indicated she saw Kelly Labonte in the house within a month. Eric Shore, the young man, testified in December of 1998. He heard David Jensen, the older boy, indicate information about his mother's health, indicated he was very concerned, said his mother was sick. She had heavy breathing. For the record, we talked about the actual breathing that was being mentioned under oath, in that his dad would not take her to the hospital. He also indicated he observed Kelly Labonte in the residence within a very short period of time.
Like
Laura
within
Shore,
a couple
that
weeks,
is the
she
mother
was
of Eric,
sleeping in that bed that Julie Jensen was murdered in.
indicated that she had information that Julie was sick. Angelina Martinelli indicated Julie was an excellent mother. She had the younger Jensen boy in preschool. Joseph Mangi, who at that time was principal of Bradford High School. Julie applied for a job there, sent the resume. They were going to hire her, and sometime December 1st or 2nd, he called Mr. Julie to tell her that she was going to be accepted for the job, and a male answered, and he said that that was Mark Jensen, and the statement by Mark Jensen was, Julie's asleep. She'll be asleep for a long time, and there was a laugh. Kimberly Noble, she indicated that Julie was a happy person. She was a good mother. We had Exhibit 9. It was a tape of Thaddeus Wojcik, W-O-J-T. He talked about conversations that he had with Julie. She was very upset over things regarding the children. And one of the highlighted items I have as to his testimony, he said Mark, meaning Mr. Jensen, was chasing Julie around with a glass of wine, and there was a syringe on the nightstand. She also indicated that this is Julie, that Mark was looking at porn sites when the door was halfway open or closed.
Well, shut that
Dr.
door, dude.
Chambliss, Michael Chambliss, who was an expert,
You know?
been in the field for 38 years, forensic pathology,
Does anybody have the original address?
indicated
Never mind.
the autopsy that was performed, the exhibit was moved into evidence. He talked about the issue of the head on the pillow. That was an issue for him. He talked about ethanol, glycol poisoning, the suffocation issue, and under oath, Dr. Chambliss said homicide as to Mark Jensen. Poisoning was a contributing factor. Edward Klug worked with Mr. Jensen. He was at this conference in St. Louis at the hotel November 6th, November 7th, 1998. Conversation after a banquet, a night of drinking. They're at the hotel, and Mark Jensen is telling Mr. Klug about poisoning his wife, going to websites, and trying to make it that it was not detectable in a normal autopsy. He would put it in her drinks, and that conversation Mr. Klug talked about. We also had records of phone bills of Mr. Klug calling his wife at that time, right after that. Mr. Klug also told, under testimony, he told Ron Reck, W-C-R-U-K, I believe. We had David Naring talk, a broker who had worked with Mr. Jensen, talked about the conversation again with Ed Klug. Mr. Naring also talked about the alcohol drinking that Friday at St.
I'm not exactly sure what they're covering right now, but
we had notes from Ed Klug. We had the tape of Ron Cosman, who was the original police officer in the case, as to the harassment.
he said she used to babysit for the Manji family.
He was given
in 90/20. Thank you, Linda.
Julie. He talked about the porno photos. He talked about this extensive calendar that Julie had, all her activities that she had marked. Notes from Julie as to what she was doing.
Yeah.
Had some information about purchasing property in November of 1998. There was something also when Officer Cosman testified, and the note that I have is that Mark Jensen said, Klug is stupid. Also, there's a note that Mark Jensen said that Julie was crying about a miscarriage. She locks herself in the bedroom. Mr. Cosman also continued to talk about the suspicious activity that was being reported at the Jensen home in 1992 through 1996, the phone calls, the harassment.
So this could be a big deal right now.
Pictures of the porno pictures of the sexual information. David Naring testified.
Okay, so what they want to prove is that they have enough evidence
Naring
to
said that he's known Mr.
charge
Jensen since
to keep trying for
1991.
first-degree intentional homicide.
He indicated that Mark Jensen
And
had
this
a
is the
personal
judge making a ruling of
relationship,
what should be a denial of the
romantic
motion.
interest with Kelly Labonte.
Gotcha. Dave, Jay, thank you both for that information. I was getting a little confused.
He also indicated
That's what I love about this
that
community, man. You guys are great.
come up and Julie was having some issues. He indicated Mark Jensen was looking for drug interactions on the computer at
I
work.
think they had a lot of cases.
There was a conversation between Mr. Jensen and Mr. Naring whether Kelly should be at the wake.
Yeah, I think it's just kind of
when she should move
due
in.
process.
That
You
is
know,
Kelly Labonte.
it's like a more just form of flow.
Rosemary McNinnis. She worked in the office in Racine at work in summer of 1998. Mark Jensen was the branch manager. She said
Thank you, Brittany.
there were no harassing phone calls that were coming in. The brokers did not open up their own mail. Kelly
Yeah, they jump into
Labonte
the
Brooks,
defense
she
right away.
married
Yeah,
Mr. Jensen in
Dave, you're a rock star, man.
February
Thank you very much.
19. She married Mr. Jensen, but the relationship, she said, started prior to that. She met Mr. Jensen April 1998.
While I'm doing this, so I'm also looking forward to having a.
Miss Brooks, also known as Kelly Labonte, was engaged to her boyfriend.
And then got married.
Developed a romantic relationship with Mr. Jensen September of 1998.
We'll have some
And
guests on the
numerous
show
email messages between Mark Jensen
with
and Kelly Labonte that start in September.
quite a bit more information about the case and kind of a peek behind the curtain, if you will, on things that are happening.
Those email messages are
Again, it says the judge is laying out the carpet for a big hell no
issues
to
as to
dismiss.
some sort of romantic relationship.
Sorry.
There's no other explanation from all those emails. They used to have letter codes that they used. I want you, I love you, I miss you, on basically every email. And this starts in September 1998, prior to the death of Julie Jensen.
And then 3 months later, she's dead. So
David Wilkinson, he's the one that was called to the scene. He indicated he came about 4:32 p.m. to the Jensen residence. Julie was already dead on arrival. EKG was performed, nothing. The phone was off the hook. He looked at the photos of the deceased. He said he was dispatched 4:32 p.m. He arrived 4:35 p.m. at the house. Paul Rasberg, who was, before he retired, was a lieutenant, but he was sergeant of the detectives of Pleasant Prairie at the time in December of 1998. He responded to the Jensen home at 4:30 on December 3rd. He had the video that we saw of the house. He showed that. He had the consent of Mr. Jensen to search. He took the home computer into custody. He recovered the computer and the hard drive.
keep that in mind.
He indicated he gave that to the crime lab December 13th, 1998. He also indicated that he recovered some sort of cigar box from the Jensen home also that items were in. He found a daily planner of Julie. It was received into evidence. The last entry of the daily planner is August 19th, 1998.
God,
He had
it's creepy.
photos of the crime scene. And he did the interview of
But let him look right
Mr.
at the camera,
Jensen
guys.
that
I
was,
guarantee it'll steal your soul.
recorded, that we watched. There's also a transcript of it. And what's interesting about that interview, he's asking Mr. Jensen about his relationship to Kelly Labonte. And the exact answer that Mr. Jensen said, Kelly is just a friend.
But you say
That's
she's
it.
just a
He doesn't
friend.
say, I've been having sex with her. She's my
With her.
lover. We've been having a relationship.
That hurts my feelings, Brittany, but I get it.
He also tells Detective Rasberg, Julie did not get out of bed December 3rd, 1998. He also said Julie was in a serious condition. He also indicated I did not call a doctor.
Why would he do that?
They
Why
seized
would he
the
not?
computer. They went, Lieutenant Rasberg also indicated they drove to St. Louis and they got the work computer. They dropped it off at the Department of Justice. So they got the personal computer. They go work computer from Racine. They also got the computer from regarding Kelly Labonte. They also have information, and this is Lieutenant Rasberg indicated that they have evidence of Julie's voice, and it sounded drunk. We had also information as to the searches on the computer. And that is the home computer. That is Jason Ruff, R-U-F-F. Division of Criminal Investigation for the state of Wisconsin. He was qualified as an expert digital evidence. Indicated the search at that time was on Yahoo. And they have searches that were done on this home computer from the Jensen residence as to, in October 12th, 1998, O'Hare Marriott website, somebody searching Morton's Steakhouse, downtown Chicago. And Kelly
Morton's
Labonte
Steakhouse.
testified, that's where we were going to go in Chicago. Morton's Steakhouse, downtown Chicago.
John B says, I don't see any evidence.
Searches for cruises. We got telephone records of Kelly Labonte and Mr. Jensen talking about, hey, maybe we're going to go somewhere else. Maybe we should take a cruise.
You were.
There's searches of botulism, food poisoning, and they're all at very strange times. They're not during the day.
The fact that he talked to Ed
2
Klug
a.m.,
about how to murder his
3
wife,
a.m.
that he planned on murdering his wife, that there was multiple conversations about how
5
you can
a.m.
murder
or
your
whatever.
wife.
They're all,
But he's definitely
they're all
covering the bases
searches.
here to say, hey, you know,
During the early mornings of the
definitely
hour.
enough case
There's
here
searches for
to continue
nicotine.
with homicide.
Searches for
That's about proof, I guess.
toxic alcohol, medicine, ethanol, glycol, poisoning, medication,
Penis.
overdoses,
He's in all the
poison
trigger words here.
websites, antifreeze. Even on December 2nd, the day before the death of Julie Jensen, 9:30 p.m., there's a search for antifreeze. There's a search for, on December 2nd, alcohol consumption, rapid breathing, blood pressure issues. Their searches December 3rd, 1998, antifreeze poisoning, information as to shock, cardiac shock. 9:40 a.m., December 3rd, 1998, searches for poisoning. Videos were watched. The home computer.
Mark's like, well, when you put it like that, it does sound bad, but
The Jensen.
I mean,
residence.
you're kind of taking things and putting them into context.
Meredith Perez,
Which doesn't help
she
me.
worked at the office in Racine. She said there's no harassing phone calls. There's nobody hanging up. There's no swearing. There's no porno pictures
The
coming.
peens.
Stacy Bauer.
So when I talked to folks in
talked
court
about
yesterday, and they were
conference
saying
in
that
St. Louis.
they're actually seeing all these pictures that they're not showing us.
Talked
Well, they
about
shouldn't be.
the
They accidentally
information
did,
Ed Klug
which
talked
they laughed about. I talked to the folks from Court TV
She's
yesterday.
the one that said, "Oh my God, he killed her."
So many dick pics they're having to look at.
Joseph Crivasi, Crifasi, took the lab samples, blood tests. The antifreeze, or the ethanol glycol, is in Julie's blood.
Where is
Perry
Tanisha?
Tarika. He's the individual that had the affair with Julie Jensen. He denied sending harassing pictures, making the phone calls. He also indicated that Julie is one of the nicest people he ever met. We call back Jason Ruff again, the computer expert. Talked about the searches again. We had a video of Joan Scully. She worked with Mark Jensen. Again, she indicated, I didn't find any porno photos, nothing received at work. Marion Passetti, she was part of the book club. She saw Mark the day that Julie Jensen died. Mark Jensen told her he could not get his wife to the hospital. Said she had a bad reaction to medication. Never said anything about depression to her. Aaron Dillard. Obviously, there's a dispute as to his credibility, but
Just a little bit.
he's testified as to what Mr. Jensen told him while they were in custody. Talked about Ed Klug testimony.
Damn. You guys, while they're doing this, I'm looking at the right now,
Ann Lynch,
the gun
a
deaths
teacher,
just for the year of
she
2023,
knew
just
Julie
in January,
Jensen.
in the last 24 days. There have been 1,200
She
people have
worried
been
about
shot
Douglas
to
having to
death
go
in the
full
U.S. so
time in
far,
fall.
with over 39
This
mass
is
shootings.
Late 1998, she indicated the marriage was in trouble. Paul Griffin, Julie's brother.
Crazy.
Talked about the family, the relationship he had with Julie. But we also have a
But
recorded
then we had
statement.
34 mass shootings last January,
Paul
32 the year
Griffin to
before
Mark
that,
Jensen.
25 the year before that. It's just getting worse and worse and worse.
And Mr. Jensen, in that recorded statement, he didn't know he was being recorded. Gives some different explanations as to what happened to Julie the last days. Said Julie was sick. She was taking medications. Mr. Griffin also indicated that he went to, which would be his nephew's birthday party, David, who was a young boy in 1999, January 21st. Kelly Labonte was there. This is, 3 weeks after the death of Julie Jensen? And Mark introduced her as a friend from work. And what did Mr. Griffin say? Kelly Labonte looked like she knew where everything was in the house. Very familiar with the house. David Thompson, interesting character. He's the one that agreed to kidnap Mr. Klug. And then when I was listening to him, I'm thinking, well, he's got prior convictions. We're not going to dispute that. But after his credibility was attacked, I was surprised to see what he does today. pretty successful individual. Turned his life around. There's no dispute as to that. And we got these phone records where we got Mr. Jensen and Mr. Thompson and Mr. Thompson's ex-wife or his mother or his child talking
They
about
have a lot of love for the Guardian, man. They really do
money
just shoot
being
from the hip.
transferred, 500, 575.
If you guys aren't
another
aware of what the Guardian is,
500.
it's definitely
We also have Mr.
They're kinda
Jensen
just,
on some of
from
the
what
phone
I've gathered,
calls to his
unbiased.
mother.
they just
talking
cover things
about
as they
people
happen.
sitting on other people. He was talking about his
No
kids
sound.
doing it, and that's kind of where he was going in those conversations. And he was dancing all the way around, but he was talking about somebody being sat on and something being taken care of, and that's why he needs the money. And then we also go back to the telephone conversation that he had with Kelly Labonte, where he's asking, "Hey, I need some money." And unbelievable. It's
Yeah,
$500.
6-year-olds shooting their teeth. Yeah.
And I need to get it to my parents. And I can't tell you what it's for, but I'll tell you later. So Mr. Jensen's talking about
I mean, Chicago's definitely on that
Ed
list.
Klug and the sitting and this kidnapping with Mr. Thompson, his wife, and his mother. And they're
Mass
all
shootings. We're
recorded.
talking about the mass murders. I mean, there's been mass shootings, yeah, but there's also been these mass murders, which was crazy.
David Ellis, obviously very limited information. He was the investigator that the Jensens had hired, but they canceled it. Gretchen Rosecki, the attorney for Mr. Dillard, talked about the letter that she sent regarding her client. Dr. Mary Mainland, the medical examiner for Kenosha County. She retired November 2020. Pretty impressive resume. She was the medical examiner in February 2005, left in 2008, went to Tampa, Florida. She's done 4,000 autopsies. She didn't perform this autopsy, but she reviewed numerous records, and both sides grilled her of what she reviewed, whether it was a medical record, a police report, photos, autopsy, transcripts. And she talked about what her opinion is, and she was pretty clear, even after the cross that Mr. Perry did. She was pretty solid in her opinion. She talked about the phases of poisoning and how they would start, whether it's December 1st, 2nd of 1998, continuing in what she saw in all the information that she had. She indicated Julie Jensen had 2 doses of this poisoning. It caused her death, and the manner of death is homicide. She talked the bruising on the body. So she was pretty adamant. So I got 2 experts say homicide. I got lots of witnesses that put Mr. Jensen in not a good position. So I think the evidence considered most likely in the state's light, there's sufficient evidence here to prove guilt beyond a reasonable doubt at this point. So the motion is denied. Okay.
Judge, I have one more issue. We have a transcript from Marvin Oakler that we're going to play.
Is he a witness?
Yeah, what's up to anybody that's new
What
in the
number
chat
is
here?
he?
Where are you tuning in from, and where'd you hear about us?
Marvin Oakler.
Thank you. It says deceased transcript.
Yes. So we have generally agreed on all parts that should or should not be played, except for as it relates to him. The prosecution doesn't want us to play the part where Marvin Oakler talks about the Griffins. I have no objection to that. I'll make sure that that's taken out. But they also object to Marvin Oakler talking about his experience as a pastor at funerals. I think that's fair game based upon all the testimony of the prosecution's witnesses about Mr. Jensen's behavior at the funeral.
How long is the portion about the pastor talking about funerals?
Maybe 2 minutes.
I'm going to let it in. It's been an issue brought up by the state's witnesses that Mr. Jensen did not look like he was grieving. There's numerous witnesses. So it's 2 minutes. We'll let it in. And you're not going to play the portion.
That they object to as to the Jensen family? No, I don't have any issue of getting that redacted.
When do you plan to play your videos tomorrow?
Because we have 2 doctors testifying in the mornings, not experts, but doctors, the afternoon.
All right.
So I would just request that the defense send me the new transcript of what it should look like, and then I can follow along with that.
Do you have a transcript typed up of the video?
I have his prepared transcript, and then I will get the video prepared. I didn't prepare it because we had to resolve this issue.
We've just been highlighting the transcript, and that's completely sufficient. I just want to be able to follow along.
Get her the transcript. Which doctors are you going to have tomorrow?
The plan is to have Dr. Paul
Tristan,
DeFazio and
what's
then
that?
Dr. Richard Borman.
Yeah, I was in Janesville. I went up there and
In the
covered that
morning.
Trump
In
rally
the
actually.
In
Yeah, welcome to the show, South
Are
Bend.
they
What's
going
up,
to
Wendy?
take up all of the morning, or are we going to
Glad you guys tuned in.
with them?
Michael's in
I'm
Maine.
hoping it's just the morning,
Oh, right on,
but
Michael.
we'll see.
Thank you very much. Glad you jumped in.
Okay. Anything else
Brooks
from the
trial.
state?
Yeah, denied the motion.
Anything else from the defense?
No,
All right,
thank
the
you.
jury has left, right? They're gone? Okay. See you tomorrow, 8:30. We'll give the defendant a call.
It's true. It's very true. Yeah, so someone said MJ or Mark Jensen could have been facing 2 murder charges had his hitman been successful and actually got a hold of Ed Klug. Yeah, crazy. So they are escorting Mark Jensen out of the courtroom right now. It was a trip while I was in the courtroom yesterday. You sit so close to everybody. The courtroom's not very, very large. It's probably feet by feet. I couldn't tell you. I'm terrible with dimensions. But when Mark Jensen got up to leave, it was wild. He walked right by me. And he looked at me, and like I was joking earlier about don't look him in the eyes. It is so incredibly creepy to like look the dude in the eyes because he looks like a straight up killer. Like you see that guy looking at you, like this would be the guy if you're ever like standing in a concert and you're watching the stage and then your eyes pan down. There'd be that one person out of 10,000 people that's just looking right back at you from like 4 rows, just doing this one. Where you'd be at a gas station pumping your gas, just scan through, and there'd be someone standing in the middle of the parking lot at like 3 p.m. in an overcoat, holding a freaking bailing hook, just staring at you, just slack jawed and under-eyed. Terrifying, man. Like immediately I got it gave me the goosebumps. One of those things where it was creeped out, completely creeped out. He looks the part. He definitely looks the part. Yeah, right. It's a family show. Empty eyes, man. Yeah, I went into the courtroom yesterday in Kenosha. If you guys weren't watching, it's funny because as I walked in, like the camera panned to the door, so it was like I made my little entrance, strolled in. And then of course, as it was, I had my earbuds in, right? I'm listening to the case. I was going from the computer to the phone so I could stay mobile. I get in there and I took my earbuds out, put them in the case, and right when I did that, the audio transferred to my phone, which was on speaker, and it just like starts going super loud, and like the whole courtroom like stopped and looked over, and both prosecutions turned around. I'm like, like, oh my God, but I couldn't turn it off. It was like, having a thong song play for your ringtone and sitting in church and forgetting to turn off your ringer. Not that that's happened to me. I mean, not that song. Man, you get what I'm saying. Anyway, yeah, so I was in court yesterday, and then I flew to LA early this morning or late last night. So I got in about 3 o'clock today. So I'm down here in Los Angeles today, trying to do my best to cover the court case. While I'm going to be doing some work on that show, Let's Make a Deal, for about a week and a half. But I'll be doing the trial as well. I'm going to be broadcasting it. I might not be on, like kind of the first half of the days are typically kind of choppy for me because I'm working. Wendy says that happened to me at my grandma's funeral. So you had Cisco, you had Thong Song for your ringtone? Either way. Okay, so what I want to talk to you guys about though, and I want to thank my people for sending this in. So I'm going to bullet point some things here. And a letter. Okay, so this is pretty wild. Yeah. And let me just double check here real quick, guys, before I read anything. And let me move this around real quick here. So, I'm just double checking something real quick here. I'm double checking because I got some information that was sent to me, and I'm not exactly certain how much of it I'm allowed to share. So that being said, I don't want to keep you guys in limbo. It's not like I'm, doing any kind of like, I'm not baiting you in any way here, but Sonia, there you go. It's been a ride, man. You were with me since Concrete. That was back in the days. Yeah, we were rocking it. Me and Ian and Shay down in Portland and up in Seattle. It's ridiculous. Once I get the confirmation, which should be coming in here in a second. Real fast, I'm going to show you this. So the where are we at here? Here we go. Come tab. Boom, boom. I'm going to give you guys a look at where this all took place. So let's see. This is the Lakeshore Drive, 9020 Lakeshore Drive, where the actual where the murder took place. This is 9020 Lakeshore in Pleasant Prairie, Wisconsin, in the Carroll Beach area. So you cross the street here. Right out here is Lake Michigan. You pull out here, which is gorgeous, you guys. If you've never been to or are unaware of how the Kenosha is set up, it's gorgeous, man. It's beautiful. So as you look at it, you got the turquoise blue water of Lake Michigan. Let me pull this up here so you can see it while I see it at the same time. That's not working. Here we go. It really looks pretty undeveloped there at this point, but there's the whole layout of kind of, the Kenosha downtown area. You got sand dunes, the whole nine. But you come in here. This is the location of the crime that was committed right here on Lakeshore Drive. I'm going to head down there when I get back into town from Los Angeles. And yeah, so, but before we do any of this, I'm going to I just got the confirmation here, so we're good. Scary stuff, right? CJ, where's Al Capone's house? Do you know it's on the lake? Yeah. Actually, I drove close to it, here. Since George Floyd, yeah. That's right. Sissy's in there, yeah. Yeah, the OG Mike, man, that's what's wild. Yeah, some folks have been to me since the original like Concrete days when I had I had my mic that I used was funny because it was I had to write press on it in vinyl so that I could hold it up because I kept getting shot by the police with like rubber bullets and sandbags and because they thought I had a weapon. Like I would be walking through tear gas with like a gas mask on doing my report, you know, but it looked like I had weapons. So I would have my phone running. You can kind of tell what that is, but then this thing kind of looks like it could be anything. You know, it's black handled silver. So I'd have to like hold it up like to my side like this, and it said like press down it. I was like, please don't shoot, but didn't stop him. Okay, so Cindy says it's about a mile from this house south. So if we go like this, pull out of there, and then if we head, so that would be, help me out here. Let's rotate the view this way. So that would be heading south, right? Yeah, that'd be heading south. Lake would be on, yeah, on your east, south, yeah. So about a mile down this way, apparently, would be Al Capone's house. I thought it was out on like a bluff, right? At the end of Lakeshore Drive. So if you guys head down all the way down Lakeshore Drive here, yeah, I believe if you have to get down here to past Lakeshore Park, there's Carroll Beach. And then you'd have to help me out here if I'm not mistaken. It gets to a point where you can't go any further, and it's like out on a point. Is this it right here? This is the in this general area. I can't see the comments at the same time. I apologize. So anyway, so let me go ahead and read you this letter, though. This is interesting stuff, and I'll probably start the day off with it tomorrow as well. But I received this letter from an undisclosed source, and it was so. This was to the district attorney's office. They say that if a retired Detective Rice bets, and I might be getting the penmanship is horrible. The Kenosha County forensic examiner had contact and or did any sort of initial computer examination of Mark Jensen's home computer, there is undisputable proof that Detective Rick Bentz had tampered, suppressed, and even fabricated, I'm going with, computer evidence. The proof has been provided to Kenosha County Circuit Court, Honorable Bruce Schroeder, and Kenosha County District Honorary Office, and is now stored within Kenosha County Court. There's a high probability that Detective Bentz had access and or conducted initial computer examination of Mark Jensen's computer prior to it being to the state of Wisconsin crime lab. The evidence of this happening, of the tampering, suppression, and or you can't really fabrication, I guess, of computer evidence rests in, and then it gives evidentiary finding the location where it can be found. Have inbox of issues from bad hash values, blah, blah, code being, okay, from bad, it's tough to read, hash values and settings being changed, CCR, errors, files being mislabeled, edited by Bentz to name a few issues, including user accounts being wiped from computer hard drives, emails, Word documents being wiped from computer hard drives, and open an open doctoring, I'm going to say, of actual computer hard drives that more than likely violated court orders. These above issues suppressing and actual testimony of Detective Bent, Ms. Byers of the state of Wisconsin Crime Lab, and Mr. Stephen Odenthal shows Detective Bent's tampered, suppressed, and even fabricated computer evidence, and did so to support the Kenosha County District Attorney narrative. I apologize in advance if the states have already made defense counsel aware of Detective Bent's wrongful actions, and or if he had no contact with the computer evidence and or above cited case. I only wish everyone, no matter who it is or what they are charged with, receive a fair trial and a complete defense. I know Kenosha County law enforcement and district attorney officers is distinguished when it comes to their investigations, and any evidence or witnesses that does not disingenuous when it comes to their investigations, and any evidence or witnesses that does not support their narrative. Interesting. So this is just a letter that was written in. So whether or not there's any hard backing to that, it did have some listings for where the evidence can be found. But that being said, it's pretty interesting to me that this letter has direct references to there being tampering with the computer. Now, again, they say they don't know if it's going to have any bearing on the case or if it's been brought up already. Has it been talked about? Has it been discussed? Has it been, wagered into the scenario? How they debunked that as false? I don't know. But I would like to look a little bit further into it and see what that's all about. So, yeah. Anyway, I thought it was intriguing. Gave me kind of like the goosebumps, like, oh shit, not that I feel like he didn't murder his wife, but it doesn't take much for there to be a, evidentiary findings or some kind of tidbit of info that'll come through that'll give people enough grounds to say, hey man, maybe he did it, but if the glove don't fit, you know what I mean? Did OJ do it? Yes or no? In the comments, go. I'm curious. Did he commit to the act of murder? Yes, no, thumbs up, thumbs down, either way. Let me see it in the comments. 100%. I doubt there's going to be many no's. And while we're here talking about things, absolutely. Yeah. Kathy Mara says no. Okay. I wonder if Mark is helping the warden's portfolio. Yeah, right. Like helping him. Dave, that's a good question. That's a real Shawshank. Yeah, you guys are talking about Shawshank Redemption. That's a real question. Like, well, he's definitely helping people with their taxes and with their investment portfolios. He's helping them diversify their revenue streams right now. So, Pamela Guerrera says no. Okay, Pam and Kathy, who say no. Who did it then? Like, who do you think did it? Because I remember. I remember the case. I remember watching it happen. I remember the slow speed chase of the white Bronco. Kathy says Mark Jensen did it. Touche. Well played. Okay. Well played. It wasn't Mark. It was the one-armed man. Oh man. Your hubby says no, Shelley. Okay. Who knows? But we have apparently somehow because of that, we have the Kardashians. So, from tragedy comes beauty. and a child named after a penis, apparently, if you're following the headlines with was it Kylie Jenner, one of the two. I mean, they named their child Aria, whatever it is, which apparently transfers out to my penis, I think, in Arabic, something along those lines, is what I've seen. I've seen a couple different things. Whoever did it has the other glove. Ooh, okay, good call, good call. What's interesting too is that knife that was brought out like 20 years later. There you go, yeah, AIRE. But the knife that apparently some detective had, the bloody knife, and he's like, "Oh yeah, by the way, I got this knife. I don't know if you need it. It was part of. I found it at the house. It might be, pertinent to the case. Who knows?" But it's interesting the evidence that comes out, and really that's what we're dealing with right now in this trial with Mark Jensen. Is it's not. I don't believe that any of us think that he didn't do it. Right? It's just a matter of how much evidence is going to come out that's going to be removed from the case that's going to keep it still chargeable, and that'll stick. And they feel, because they had the trial that went into this, the forfeiture trial, and they had enough evidence, they feel that they can still try him for murder without the evidence that's being removed, right? So, but then the defense, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Brittany, I think you have a pretty firm grasp on the legalities involved here. So if you have any input on this, please help. But I believe that the defense also felt their case was strong enough to proceed in saying, no, we feel that without that evidence, which would have been the letter that Julie Jensen wrote and the voicemails to the detective, that we have enough of a case to prove that he didn't do it. So, or they're just doing what they would do in any appeal situation, which is say, hey man, we're going to throw a Hail Mary. If it hits, cool. If not, we did our best, like they tried to do with getting the case dismissed just now with at the end of the day. So, yeah, pretty wild, man. But the bear, Boo Boo the bear, why he will still be guilty. I think the judge pretty much reported today why he will. And see, that kind of says it true, Dana, right? Like the judge said, not only are we not throwing the case out, because we feel like the evidence that was presented, the judge is saying, we feel like the evidence that was presented is substantial enough to continue with prosecuting Mark for first-degree homicide. The judge is almost by default saying, no, there's plenty of evidence here to prove he did it. Like, we're not going to throw that out. We're going to keep going because it's kind of obvious that he did what he did. Yeah. So, and you guys, yeah, if you want to help support the stream here, stars are greatly appreciated over on the Facebook, on the YouTubes. If you're on the YouTubes, the super chat, super stickers, or direct contributions, they help keep, like I said, keep the lights on, keep the internet rolling, keep the camera running. It keeps me able to do the stream like 85% of the time. And then every once in a while, then I have to like contract and do work out of state. Because as you know, cost of living is not cheap. So, but I feel like we put a lot of time into this. So if you're able to help support it, share the stream first and foremost. Stars, super chat, super stickers, or any direct contributions, you guys. And of course, those are all here listed: Cash App, PayPal, Venmo. I am viewer funded, like PBS or anything else. And it makes a huge difference as to whether or not I'm able to cover cases and where I can go too. There's plenty of things that are happening outside of the scope of just Kenosha or just Wisconsin or just California or just Washington, all over the country and the world at large. So I'm definitely looking to be as many places as possible. So let me know if you're able to. So help out. If not, don't have to let me know. Just if you're able to help out, it makes a world of difference, guys. And I really do appreciate it. Become a subscriber and make sure your notifications are set up as well. Yeah, Diana, I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to keep streaming. I'm going to keep doing what I do. And we're going to take some changes. We're going to flip the script a little bit on how we do things. Probably introduce a couple different segments, if you will, or types of shows that we're going to do. Probably podcast style. Thanks, Greg. I appreciate that, man. Thank you very much. Yeah, we all did it. 20-year paralegal here. Okay. Though I don't do criminal law. Okay, but you definitely know enough, Brittany, to kind of to chime in when there's information needed. So tune in, Brittany, if you would please come back. We definitely could use any kind of legal expertise of any kind when we're going through these things. I do the best I can based off of my experience with the courts during my time of drug addiction. I definitely spent a lot of time in and out of the courtrooms, making bad decisions that inevitably sculpted me into the person I am today, which is something I'm very proud to do, and be sitting in 5 years of sobriety and having, put that decade of a life behind me from before that is amazing. But you really have to go through the ringer to figure a lot of this out. So it's funny when you're doing all this jailhouse talk and things, a lot of things that I'm remembering from my time working with the system, or rather the system having to work with me. Yes, with 2 L's, HALLIBURTON. And thank you on the congrats there. Dave, you're not wrong, man. And that's the segment we're going to be talking about, the fentanyl that's been going on. It started with the coverage of the border that I was doing, and then I started seeing a lot of it with the people that I used to, that I was in active use with. And beyond them, I've had close to a dozen, I would say 9, 10 people that I was in active use with in the last year and a half, 2 years almost, that have passed away from overdoses due to fentanyl. It's truly an epidemic that and you guys see it in the streets. And now that they've decriminalized everything in Seattle and some of these big cities, it's just, there's zombies just walking the street, and it's terrible. But we're going to talk more about that in different segments we're going to do dedicated to just that, because it really does deserve a full range of our attention, and I want to make sure we do that. But Daniel, you're not wrong. Daniel, so I'm in LA. I plan on heading up that direction maybe this weekend, actually. So stay tuned. We're going to be doing some live action streaming, which will be fun and terrifying at the same time. Subutex is no joke either, man. You're not wrong. The one of the other things, man, that here, I'm going to pull this up real quick. Not that I want to end it on a bad note here, which it's not. These are just the things that are happening in the world around us, right? So, but is the where we're at here. So if you're seeing this is coming out of the Guardian, which, like I said, is from what I gather, I feel like it's a really good source of information. Greg, thank you so much for that, man. I really appreciate the contribution. Thank you very much, man. Yeah, you're a rock star, brother. What we're seeing here is, like I said, is 39 U.S. mass shootings already this year. It's just the start, as it says. They've got 1,214 gun deaths so far in January. That's crazy, guys. That's nuts. That's insane. They have the ones that happened, the 2 in California, which just happened. There was the one at Half Moon Bay, which would involve 2 separate incidents, 2 related shootings that killed 7 people, I believe, and there have been 70 people that have been shot and killed in mass shootings so far in 2023. And if you look at this map, this blows my mind, man. If you look at the grouping of this map, hopefully it shows up on your screen as well as it is on mine. So this is gun deaths shown are murders, homicides, accidents, or defense. It doesn't include self-inflicted injuries. But you look at that grouping there, man. The only state, what's crazy is the only state that's not listed in here that I'm seeing right off the bat is Idaho. But of course, we have the triple homicide or the quadruple homicide in Idaho. So, but that didn't involve a gun. That was a stabbing. Now they're trying to. I'm not sure if they're showing this Eastern Washington. That's Spokane. I'm going to go for the one over in the far east of the Washington, up there in the north, in the northwest in the corner of the map. Chicago definitely has a massive grouping. Dallas, Phoenix, Los Angeles, yeah, it's terrible. But the Louisiana's got, oh, man. So all down here, down south, man, things are getting hectic, getting real hectic. The 1,214 people have been killed before the end of the first month of this year, including 120 children. That is likely to increase to tens of thousands by the end of 2023. The figure for 2022 is 20,200. So, not that it's one that we have to look too much into comparison, though. For the UK, they're saying that in the UK, there have been the year that ended in March of 2020 for the fiscal year, I guess. There was 31 people killed by firearms, but it's not nearly they have 67 million to our 333 million. This is interesting right here too, if you look at it. So this is the scale as it is right here for the years, right? So how many mass shootings in just January of the years, right? So 2020 was at 25. We're all the way up to 14 more in just 3 years. It's wild. Man, what's really crazy is these youth involved shootings, man, where these kids are getting hold of guns and bringing them to schools, or just going on these shooting sprees, man. It's really sad and disturbing is really what it is. America bought an estimated 150 million guns in the past decade, with sales increasing, especially during the pandemic. There are more guns in the U.S. than people, according to a 2018 Small Arms Survey report, which found the country had the highest rate of firearm ownership in the world, and more than double the next country on the list is Yemen. Well, I would imagine, yeah. They are cracking down with gun legislation right now on the types of guns you can have, the capacity of the clips. So I don't think it's going to change much. People are just going to go underground. They're saying that you can keep the guns you have, but it's just going to, people are just going to have to register them. And I think that people are just not going to do it. So yeah, this goes further into the small arms report I want to make sure this is the right number. So yeah, this goes all the way back to this is where they cited their findings back in 2017 and 2018. So either way. So that's what's going on. You know what I mean? There's definitely a lot of stuff happening out in the streets that we cannot control, but there's plenty that we can. And I always try to leave it on a positive note. I think the best thing that we can focus on is the changes that we can make right at our homes. So we start our day. I talked to my brother this morning, and he was saying that he was just having a really bad day. He was off, just was mad, and he was upset about being on hold for something. And, things just kind of weren't lining up. And before we got off the phone, it was one of those things where I just found myself in the moment. I was like, well, just remember that you create the day you live in, right? So you can either keep engaging and feeding into the negativity of the day you're having, and then you'll just keep having the worst day, or do what you can to change that. Focus on the things that are positive in between the bad, and then make those the things that are happening. So the bad's happening in between the good, right? And then it becomes a very small focal point, because we are without any reservations of the outside forces that will come our way, in control of the day that we live and in the lives in which we carry into it. So it's up to us to kind of create the positivity in which we live in. And if you're able to share that with the people around you, you know what I mean? So like I said, the changes start at home. I think with the schooling that we do with our children at home, maybe not homeschooling, but with the education factor that needs to take place in the home with our children. We need to make sure that we give them the education that we want them to have. The public schools, private schools, whatever schools they happen to go to, when they leave the home, provides tools and an opportunity to expose them to other students, other worlds, society, social interactions, the construct of like their bite inhibition, if you will. But what we can do at home is continue that. I a lot of love to my brother Steve, who was a teacher at one point, and I see how he is with children, and they continue that education in a lot of ways at home with things that he feels are the next step of the education that they bring home from their homework and things of that nature. I think it's really important that we focus on that and giving our kids the life lessons that they need and not expecting them to learn that in the streets, because like we're seeing out there, as I'm looking at the streets outside the window, there's a lot of things that can happen that we can't control. So control what you can and give it the best investment of positivity and energy that you can, and reach out to the people around you guys. Along the issues that we see with the fentanyl, with the drugs, with the gun violence, with everything, it's the suicide rates are we're at an all-time high in 2022. The youth suicide rates were staggeringly high and record-breaking. Talk to somebody if you're feeling some sort of way. If you know somebody that's in a funk, reach out, send a text, make a call, send an email, knock on a door. Whatever you need to do, but be a part of somebody's their health and their healing, and just remember that like we're meant to live as a community. We're meant to live, as a large tribe, and we can do great things through little effort. And so, and sometimes someone needs a little effort to make a great change in their life. So be that person for somebody, and remember that you might need it yourself. So, like I say all the time, sometimes the hug you give is the hug you need. And reach out, be a part of the conversation that helps somebody from feeling like they're alone. So, which you are not, because I'm here for you and I love you, and I'm happy to be here with you, and I love having you here with me. And we're going to wrap it up for the day. We've had a long one, and tomorrow we will be back on. I plan on being back on at 8:30 a.m. Central Standard. That'll be 6:30 a.m. Pacific. I know it's early. You lucky East Coasters get to sleep in for an extra hour at 9:30. EST, but I will not be available. I will not be available all day. I will be available, however, throughout parts of the day. I'll be monitoring the show though, but I'll be kind of busy doing some work on the show. Let's make a deal for the better part of the day. So, but I'll be around. And Karen Linton, I'm from Seattle, Washington. I'm in Los Angeles, and I'm residing right now in Wisconsin, in Kenosha, Wisconsin. So I appreciate you guys. I really do. I appreciate you being a part of this community. I appreciate this structure and platform being here as an opportunity for me to just have a place to speak my truths and talk to my piece and give a chance to share my story, which I feel we all have a powerful story in us. And I really hope that you find a place where you can share yours, and just be aware of the fact that it's relevant and it is important. Because no matter what you may think about the life you live, somebody else is trying to live that life as well. And the better you can showcase and present how to do it, the better they might be able to find a way to get through it. So never think that what you've gone through and what you're doing is not significant. It is. It is not just for you, but for everybody that might be watching you that you're unaware of. And I didn't realize that until I got through my addiction and I got through my life of stupidity. And then when I finally came out of my darkness, I realized how many people were a part of the peripherals of that happening. And we're just waiting and hoping and praying that I would come out of it. Some, like my mother, knew, love you right back, Ezekiel, appreciate you. She just thought it was a phase, which I think is adorable because I could have died at any point in time. But I know that for me, reconnecting with family, my sister, my brother, my best friends, people that I had pushed so far away from me, like it was amazing to hear how hard it was on them to be sitting on the periphery of my life, knowing that they couldn't do anything about it other than just love and hope and pray and be there. And then in some cases they had to just pull themselves away and separate and isolate themselves from me because I was so incredibly toxic. And now that I've got those relationships back and I've rebuilt, I'm doing good. Normally I'd be a teary mess right now, but I'm doing pretty good. I I was able to rebuild those relationships and recreate the person that I am today. And I don't have it all figured out. I don't have all the money or the status or whatever you might want in life. But I do know that I've gained my life back, and I'm living the most complete life I've ever lived. And I owe so much of that to the man that survived my addiction and all my bouts with incarceration and everything that I had to go through to get me to where I'm at today. I tip my hat to the strength of that individual. So celebrate the person that went through your hard times and that's going through your hard times, because that's your warrior, that's your soldier, that's your battle tested, your knight, and you need to go ahead and remember that that wasn't the weak person. I mean, celebrate that person. If you're going through something right now, like you are your strong, you are your strength, and celebrate that and bolster that up and feed into the strength that you have, because you're fighting the war, you're fighting that battle right now. And when you come through it, which you will, and when you survive and you get to that point where you're starting to thrive, you're going to look back at that person that went through all of those hard times, and you'll be able to acknowledge them as the badass that they were. And instead of looking at them as a failure or the mess up that you might see them as, appreciate that was the person who was fighting the hardest fight. And if they're going through an addiction or whatever it might be, I mean, there's everything from obesity to to chronic issues. I mean, people that are fighting cancer, people that are fighting things that are just on a battlefield daily, man. Like, those are the soldiers that we need to look at. You know what I mean? I've never looked up to an athlete as like something I aspire to be. And luckily, as a child, my mother was very big on being an advocate for people that were proponents for change and for fighting the good fight. And so I always was in awe as I went through these, National Geographics of these people that were like celebrated as icons of change and healing and peace and growth. And I really hope that that you can be a part of that process, right? So I love you guys, and again, I appreciate you letting me prattle on here about my feelings and my thoughts and my views. But as we had to point out earlier today, it is CJ TV, and I am your host, CJ. And again, I thank you for your love, support, and continued contributions. You guys make it all happen. You make it all possible. And I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow. So between now and then, take care of yourself and take care of each other. Love you guys.